Good evening and welcome to our podcast in Conversation with Thabang, where we are trying to move people from crisis to control. And today we are celebrating June 16. You would remember that in 1976, young people from Soweto and all over South Africa, they were on the street, batoito yaka apartheid, and because they wanted to, the then government wanted to use Afrikaans as a medium language, and young people said no. So today, as we celebrate June 16, he invited one of the young person. I've met him around, and I've seen that, you know, he just speaks his mind. Or Osolofetswe Melesi, and I'm so grateful to have Osolofetswe. Osolofetswe, welcome to our podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Most.
Yes. When we talk about Osolofetswe,
someone who values intellect, obviously.
Yes.
Someone, I have a personality. I feel like everybody should have a personality.
Okay.
You know, this thing of being bland, trying to be too cool for school. But yeah, I'm a person or intellect, a person who values, you know, different perspectives. So I'm a fan of a good conversation, yes, where I get to engage with people, get understand, especially people that I disagree with.
Yes.
People who comes from, like, who would speak of something, maybe we would have the same conversation, and then you have a different perspective to one that I have.
Yes.
So I like engaging in that. So kind of debate, but not so much, you know. So yeah, but then I'm also an engineering student, studying civil engineering, doing my practicals, and yeah, man, that's just me. I'm just a chill guy. You know what I mean?
How would you describe a typical South African youth to the outside world?
Vibrant, smart. We know what we want. We know what we want to get out of life. Yes. Often misunderstood, yes, I feel like, you know, but yeah, we are no nonsense people. But we are also very creative, you know, especially social media is a big thing now. We can all go there and see the different types of personalities that we have. We have people who are doing your more formal type of stuff. You know, people talk politics, do these podcasts, but you also have people who do like your informal sort of content creation, day in the life of. So there's a lot of variety when it comes to our youth, you know. But if there's one thing about us, yes, and we are often seen as people who don't know what they want, who don't know where they're going, because we're exploring avenues that our parents didn't think that they would have getting, that our parents didn't think that we would be successful in. You know, you had a very sort of, back in the day, you had a very sort of channeled. We were channeled into, you must be a teacher, doctor, but now people are content creator. Mang on the business, 𝐒𝐿𝐻𝐈, Mang is a DJ. So we're diving into a life that a lot of the older generation, I feel like, didn't understand that we would be successful in that type of thing. So yeah, we're very vibrant, smart people, you know, and yeah, really go get them, man.
You spoke something very important. What are the conversations so one let's only the parents and what kind of influence do they bring to you? Because what but from where you coming from, get conversations different different.
I think, you know, you put it right, how a conversation.
Yes.
Because I think a lot of those parents who say don't have a conversation. They tell us what to do. We don't respond well to people who tell us what to do. You have to make it make sense. So have a conversation, which is something that happens high. Ever since I have a younger sister, we were never meant to feel like you are a child, therefore how nobody opinion.
Yes.
We were engaged at the level that we were at, whether we were 5 years old, 10 now. We have conversations, and a very open conversations with parents, you know, where we get to talk about things and they get to understand our point of view and we get to understand their point of view, especially in times where they're giving us lessons of, like, giving us wisdom. It's not a thing of, I'm telling you to do this, like read a book because I'm telling you. It's read a book because a book will benefit you in language, it will benefit you in understanding, knowledge, all of one understand. So we have a conversation, which is something that is very key when it comes to understanding youth here today, and you know. So yeah, we my parents and I and my sister, we talk about any and everything.
Yes, and then this conversation, let's take it outside your home, ne? What means how? Ra ba bona batho ba basha ba bangata o tla botse no ha ona dispani. Some you'd see them the whole day, you know, drinking, using drugs and all of that. What kind of conversations do you have, or what kind of people do you prefer to have conversations with? I want to go back a bit to what we started with. Yes.
When it comes to friends and conversations, I'm very intentional.
Okay.
I don't hang out with people like how na mugitlo yanting when I'm with this person. I think among my circle of friends, we all have a way, like let's say I want to get into a sort of social media type of space. I want to start diving into social media, understanding what that is. I have a friend that I can talk to that about. I want to understand the more political side of things. I have a friend that I can talk to that about. I want to understand philosophy and psychology. I have a friend that can do that. So my thing is, I'm intentional about the people that I select to be around me. It's for, I don't have friends for small talk.
Okay.
I don't know how to do small talk. I don't know how to talk about nothing, you know? So I make sure that my friends are the type of people who can help me progress in the things that, both the things that I'm interested in, but also bringing new things that I've never thought about to say, oh, this is a thing, you know? So yeah, and it also comes from home. Having meaningful conversations and not talking about nothing, or not having a shell of a conversation where someone is telling you what to do. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's where I can link it to the sort of conversations that I had growing up at home to the conversations now that I have with friends, and being intentional about the friends that I select.
And then let's go back to your childhood. What has been that thing that has always been in your mind as you grew up? Doctor, lawyer, but also if what is it that you can say? When I was a child, I was told to the kids I want 2, 3, that has shaped me as a young person or a teenager till where I am now.
I think the one thing that remains consistent to this day is my love for architecture.
Okay.
For art in general, right? I'm a very colorful person. I enjoy color. I enjoy art, you know. And I got into the sort of engineering space by exploring architecture. And also traveling helped a lot, because I got to see new places outside of home. And I'm like, oh, this place looks like that. That place looks like this. A building can lean sideways. What is that? You know? So I was very interested in that. But I'm also just a person who gravitates towards anything that has color. You know, anything that is loud, you know. So yeah, that's the one thing. When it comes to my dreams, I always push in that direction. Even the things that maybe it wasn't a dream of mine back then, but it's something that I become interested in now. You have me in a chokehold, you know. So yeah, but engineering, architecture specifically, is the one thing that I can still say that it's something that I still enjoy. It's something that I still like. Yeah.
So basically that's what triggered where you are
where I am now.
So normally when we study we check the gap here in Bloemfontein. How would you have impact with what you would have studied? Or if somebody comes and say, okay, fine, I want to invest in you, what is it that you would do in your own town, maybe to improve it or to make it look better?
And if it was up to me, I would burn this whole place down and start from the beginning. Because another thing that sort of solidified my should I say love? My love for architecture is that from traveling, I've seen that Bloma Hynanix, in the sense, like there's nothing. If someone were to have the same dream as I do, but not have the same exposure in terms of like traveling, or not even have a phone to look at stuff, like you wake up and this is all you see. Okay. They wouldn't have inspiration. You know, it's waking up in Sandton and seeing a skyscraper, you are more likely to have an inspiration for Chases architecture than waking up here and just seeing this flat surface. I feel like Bloma should become a tourist attraction. Okay. And one way to become a tourist attraction is to have, you know, an aesthetic, that, like we call it, you know. And I've always wanted to improve on that, you know, have redesign this place, man. It's not a lot of places where you can go where you can just step outside and see And it's so easy to get an inspiration from the things that you see, like I've said.
Okay.
So if you don't have anything that you can say is a reference point to whatever inspires you, especially at home, you're not even going to want to stay here. You're going to want to go wherever it is that you found inspiration. Like if you've been to Dubai, you're going to want to go there. If you've been to Santon, you're going to want to go there. So in terms of the landscape and the architecture, there's nothing that I think would make one want to stay here. So that's what I would do. I would redesign this place. I would give it a little bit more, you know, it should be sort of a place to say, oh, like for instance, say we have the concert and what have you.
Okay.
Everything outside of Bodagaya Blom. People go to Joburg, people go to Cape Town, Durban, all these places. And one thing that these places have in common, they're beautiful.
Yes.
You know, they are beautiful. They have aesthetic gear and people want to go travel to these places, you know. I don't know Beyonce to Blom.
Okay.
She's more likely to go to Joburg than Cape Town because those places are beautiful. You know, everybody wants to go there. And if we're going to sit here and call Ntomangaung the heart of South Africa and City of Roses, but we don't even have a single rose, that's a problem.
Yes.
You know? So, yeah, man, I don't know. I would just redesign this place.
Yeah. So if you are given an opportunity to say, okay, fine, here is this session you're planning for Mangaung majority, you know, or a premier, you know, what are those 3 important things that you would tell them?
What would I tell them?
Yeah. As a young person, we are given a platform. It's okay, come and tell us, what do you think?
Hey, man. I don't know how to phrase this. Like, if I'm sitting there in a room with these people,
yes,
yeah, and I'm given a platform, I would say, like, guys, we need to invest in our city.
Yes.
We need to invest in making it look like a place that people want to come to, instead of a place where people want to pass through.
Okay.
Because people pass through here by Joburg, people pass through here by Limpopo, people pass through here by Akai, but they don't want to stay here. Yeah. If someone is going to lay over, let's say we're traveling from Cape Town to Limpopo.
Yes.
If someone is going to lay over, they would rather do it in Joburg than do it here.
Okay.
You know, because we don't really have that thing. It's like, no, stay.
Okay.
You know, we need to make our city a place that attracts people. You know, so one of the running things that I keep saying, kind of a joke, but it's not. I want to build a stadium.
Okay.
Nice, not a round thing where people can kick a ball. No, like a place where we can do sports, we can do concerts, we can do events. Like you know, I want to build something like that. Okay. But also, just going back to redesigning the landscape, making it look more presentable, keeping our city clean for the love of God. You know, simple things like that to make our city more attractive. I think if people are going to spend, we need to make people want to spend money here.
Yes.
You know, so, and that will also help us grow even more as a city, and even tackle you know, your more serious issues like poverty, will build them out. It becomes easier when your city is more profitable. Yes. It's easier to have an initiative in Joburg, we're going to build people houses because they have the bag for it.
Yes.
When it comes to like Akibuaka Blomo, right? We don't have anything, you know, so I would also tackle issues like that. And it all comes from making Bloom a place that people want to go to and people want to spend money in. You know, so yeah.
I would check it also in the next 5 years. Maybe there are 3 important things that you will say, you know, at least in the next 5 years, this is where I want to be, maybe professionally and personally.
I think right now, those 2 things are sort of one and the same because I'm focusing on my studies. I'm busy doing my practicals. I get N6
yes.
So I'm get the practical or get the diploma. And after that, I want to look into going into obviously doing my degree, and also I want to start getting into the field. You know, so I think right now my focus is sort of I can't look at anything else other than that because it's happening. You know, so I have to focus on it. But I also want to have an outside skill. So learn something, you know, something outside of the
soft skills.
Exactly.
Yes.
Because, I mean, the reality is we can go to school and, you know, get the degree, the qualification, but end up in a place where
Okay.
and if you're going to be, like, let's say I focused only on what I'm studying and I end up not having a job, it won't demoralize. But if I end up not having a job, but I have the soft skill that I can do something with,
yes.
it works out better for me. Yes. So in 5 years' time, I want to, you know, learn a skill that I know nothing about right now. I want to have done my diploma and either finishing or have finished my degree, depending on how things go. Yes. That's my 5
Are
years.
checking the opportunities where you are? Do you think there are enough opportunities, especially for young people around here? Okay.
Like, and even if they were opportunities, for the sake of argument, they are not advertised.
Okay.
They are not like advertised to us, especially as young people, to say, hey, there's this opportunity here. Whatever, especially for, I'll speak for myself, whatever opportunities I have found ever since I finished school have been, they never came easy or as easy as I would like.
Yes.
You know, people talk about, you guys have social media. All of the things that I see on social media are outside of here.
Okay.
All of the opportunities that I see that are available to young people on social media, they're outside of this place, you know? And a lot of the ones that I've found for myself, I've had to actively go out and seek them, often taking a long time to even come across those things. Okay. You know what I mean? But I don't know, I think and speaking of opportunity, another thing that I personally struggled with is, I get it when you finish your like the college layout is when you finish your certificate, you're supposed to go and find work for the purpose of the practical and whatnot. There is what I've seen, there isn't a link between the job market and institutions of learning.
Yes.
And that transition, it looks like it's easy in theory for like, go study this and go work. It's not. It's very tough. Like, I remember one time, it was a few years ago, where I went to a company to even go and volunteer. I'm saying, listen, I completed my studies in this. I need the practical in order to obtain my diploma. I'm struggling to find a place where I can do my training. Can I come and do my training with you guys for free? And then they said no to that. And the reason was, no, government doesn't allow us to take students who volunteer through them. But it's like, okay, who is this?
Okay.
What entity is this that you're talking about? How they want you to take students through them? Who is this? Is it a CETA? Is it a non-profit organization? Is it provincial? What one understand? It's all this information is not as easily accessible to us as it should be. Okay. Especially for the argument that people like to make for we have the world at our fingertips. They use both social media as an excuse. It's like, but you don't advertise your stuff. You don't advertise the opportunity for me to get them easily. If you're going to make the argument that I have a phone and I should be searching these things, when I go right now, when I Google civil engineering practicals, I'm going to get college where I should study. I'm done with studying. Practical. Google is not going to show me, hey, go to this place, go to that place, go to this place. I understand. I have to hear it from someone to get there, and then only to find out, no, we actually have a Facebook page. I go search said Facebook page. The last post they made was 2022. Oh. You get things like that, you know. So that link between our institutions of learning and the job market is practically non-existent. The way I've seen it, my personal experience with it, especially Mona and Moblom. It's easier in other places, I've discovered. Moblom, that link just does not barely exist anyway.
In conversation with Thabang, we commemorating Youth Day, we celebrating Youth Month, commemorating Youth Month, remembering the youth of 1976 and what they stood for. And then also looking at the challenges that the youth of this century are faced with. Osolofetswe Melesi. We're taking a short break, and after that, we continue having conversation with Osolofetswe. Now, looking at the challenges that young people are going through, and checking with him, what does he think needs to be done to make sure that we assist young people. Coming back shortly. We still talking to Osolofetswe. Hey, Osolofetswe roblela taba tsa go wa re fa taba tsena tsa gore ke mucha. He's not apologetic. Osolofetswe, you spoke about social media. I just want to get your views because recently we've seen a lot of things happening there. Either, our sisters the victim from social media. So I want your views about social media, and maybe what is it that you can say to young people out there to make sure that these platforms, they contribute towards their progress and make them to be use them wisely.
Look, man, when it comes to social media, I think it can be as destructive a tool as it can be constructive.
Okay.
It can be either used to tear you down and demoralize you, or it can be used who lifter.
Yes.
People can bully you, people can give you inspirational quotes.
Yes.
But I think the one thing that I appreciate the most, especially today, is it can actually put bread on your table.
Okay.
You get a lot of people who make money from social media, either through the social media entity itself, like maybe like your Instagrams and your YouTubes and whatnot, or the exposure that social media gives them makes them more presentable to like brands and all that. You know what I mean? And I think it's something that is happening right now. You're seeing a lot more young people getting into the social media space and using that to make money, which is one of those things that I say that our parents didn't think was possible. Imagine me telling my parents, right, let's say get 2010, I'm 10 years old, I'm telling my parents, listen, Nike Batlon now on YouTube. They're going to ask me, how are you going to make money from that?
Yes.
Because the aim of the game is to build a good life for yourself. That's what any parent would want from their child. But right now, I have points of reference to say, no, Mamang has a social media platform and this social media platform pays them.
Yes.
Or this social media platform gives them exposure to certain things where they can grow in their personal lives.
Yes.
And it also helps those, let's say in my life, I've tried this engineering thing, it didn't work. I've tried my soft skill, it didn't work. I tried another soft skill, it didn't work. I'm sitting there at home and I'm like, all I have is my phone.
Yes.
Dog, put that thing up and record content.
Yes.
Just something that you can do something on social media, So it's one more avenue that people can explore when it comes to, building a life for yourself. And it can even become a passion.
Yes.
Because you get from a simple social media influencer, you get someone who says, oh, I want to do makeup for these people. Oh, I want to do production for these people. So you're opening up a different sort of avenue for people through this one social media thing, So, social media can, like I said, it can either be bad for you, it can be good for you. It depends what you choose to do with it.
And then let's talk about this issue, We've recently had incident like Olorato and many other young girls that are murdered. What would you say? I mean, earlier on you indicated that you do have a sister. Number one, do you have conversations with your sister about relationships, dating, and all of that? And maybe what are you saying to your sister, and what would you say to our sisters out there? Because a lot of bad things are happening to our sisters and women in general in South Africa. Okay,
let me start with the incidents that you're talking about and connecting that with social media, right? I mean, we've seen what happened. What disturbs me the most is how when things like this happen, people tend to want to dissect the victim.
Okay.
They want to say, or why did you go out with said person? Why did you do said thing as the victim? Nobody questions who first of all, who even is this perpetrator?
Yes.
Right? Why did they do what they did? Where are they? How can they be found? How can they be brought to justice? Those are conversations that we only have after we have dissected the person, like the victim. Which another thing it comes to, I mean, the comments and stuff, when people ask, hey, why what's and stuff, and women should stay at home, as women we should, you know, give each other the location, don't meet strangers. I'm like, I hate how the solution to the problem is that women shouldn't have a social life. I hate how, because women are going to be dissected first for the situation that she didn't ask to be murdered. Yes. She didn't ask for that man to do those things to her, you know? And then we're going to sit here and try to say, no, you shouldn't have gone out with a stranger. You should have shared your location. You should have done this. We have too many instances where women are raped and murdered, having done those things, having, you know, it's either by someone you know, with your friends, you've stayed at home, you've shared said location, you've told everybody where you're going, you have met in a space where there's a lot of people, but we still get cases as well. Yes. So if your answer to that is women should not have a social life, like just to, you know, to put it into context, it's a problem, because we also have another thing in Borang is we also have this mentality of standing out of, like, stepping aside and standing out of the way of the crime. Yes. The crime can happen as long as it's not to you. Yes. That's crazy. We shouldn't be questioning, instead of questioning the victim, we should be questioning, why is this normal? Yes. Because, I mean, I don't know if this is still true, but to my knowledge, South Africa is the rape capital of the world. Yeah, that's what. That is insane. Having a sister in a country like that is terrifying, you know? And and also seeing how people react to it, I'm disappointed, because this is something that we should be fighting against hard. And we should be fighting against the crime itself, not to police how women should live. Yes. We should be fighting, going back to conversations. Us as guys should be having conversations with our friends. Yes. And we should be mindful of, one, the kind of friends we keep, two, the conversations we have with such friends. Because whether you want to admit it or not, men value the opinions of other men. If I'm going to sit in a circle with my friends and all they talk about is, don't let a woman control you, you must discipline her, you must if I step outside and go meet a lady and I think about the way my friends see women, I'm going to think, Shasses, this lady shouldn't be basampona ang control. Understand? Because I want to keep now a reputation with my friends. Okay. And the sort of conversations that we have, they also trigger things subconsciously. Yes. You know, I think sometimes, not to speak for them, but I believe in, especially when like a man hits a woman or something like that, it's a subconscious thing. Yeah. Sometimes. Some of them are evil, but I'm talking about those people, Balongon, they do it and they didn't think that they would do it. Even their friends would say, we didn't think also would go and do that. But when you look at their circle and you look at the things they talk about and you look at the ways in which they influence each other, it's more likely that Osolofetswe because of the friends that he keeps. And we don't hold each other accountable for the things that we do, the things that we say to each other. Actually, we want to run away from such things. We want to convince ourselves that there's not a problem among us and the way we influence each other. He did that alone. He was not influenced by me to go and do that. But if you were to look back, kind of was. You know, either you triggered something that was already there, or you triggered something that it's a new response, because he's thinking now about, says, this guy is going to have a certain opinion of me if he sees me not reacting to this way in a situation with this lady. Yes. Yeah. And we're not going to admit that, but it's things that happen. Yes. Remember, sometimes I've been in groups where this is a conversation and I just look at these people and I'm like, dog, why Libwaso? Yes. You know what I mean? So we need to tackle this issue in such a way that as men, we hold each other accountable. Okay. And as people, as a society, we stop standing out of the way of this crime and treating it as such a norm that, no, it can happen. When I just make sure that you send your location, you stay home, you don't have friends, or you don't go out with strangers, you don't go in, don't do this. The crime, it can happen. When as long as you don't do that, you're fine. It'll happen to someone else. No, it shouldn't happen in the first place. Yeah. We should be trying to uproot this thing and destroying it.
Yes.
Instead of saying it's there, stay out of the way of it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's how I feel of that.
So we see a lot of young people, and they ended up getting broken, and then babu jwala and drugs and all of that. When as also, what is it that you do when things are not going right? Because it happens to all of us. Only when things are not going right completely, whether you have plans and what. How do you handle that kind of a situation?
Unpopular opinion, complain, guys. Like, complain now. No, seriously, complain, yes. Right? Have people that you speak to, that you vent about things. For I did this thing and it didn't work. I hate that it didn't work. Life is unfair. Complain. But after having done that, go back, recalibrate and say, okay, no, I've got that out of my system. And sometimes in complaining, you find the solution. For let's say I vent, I did this, I studied this, I went there and it didn't work. And then the friend can say, okay, but that thing that you just spoke about, why didn't you do it in a different way?
Yes.
You said something just now that could have worked had you done it that's a solution to your problem. And you wouldn't have gotten that solution if you didn't complain. I'm not saying make complaining your entire personality. No, find the solution, yes, but unravel your mess. Yes. Lay it out so that you can be able to pick things up. Because even in that journey that you took when things didn't go right, there are certain things that you can take and say, no, I can still do this, but instead of doing that thing next, I can do something else while keeping one understand. So yeah, what I do, I decompress, I vent, I speak about things, and I keep people around me who are not only willing to listen, but willing to give me sort of advice and sort of help me unravel to say, okay, friend, but for this thing, try this instead, try that instead. So they give you feedback as well. Yes. And also, I think we live in a time, speaking to the giving up thing, we live in a time where we have too many options for you to sit back and say, life is not working out, I'm just going to sit and do nothing. Like I said, we were speaking about social media just now and just propping up a camera and recording something. Someone will find it entertaining. Yes. One view will go to 10, will go to 10,000, will go to 100,000. You'll get brand deals. So there's so many things that you can do now. There's so many soft skills that you can have. They will put bread on your table. They will help you succeed. And you will succeed in avenues where people, like, let's take photography. Yes. I feel like at some point people didn't think that photography will make money. They saw photography as a hobby. Now, the picture for the graduation, the wedding, the matric dance, makeup is another thing. Yes. People didn't think that makeup will put money on the table. It's just a cosmetic to look nice. Also the makeup for the matric dance, weddings, farewells, all of these things. So find something. Yes, the situation is about to Haditwan, and we're not all exposed to the same things. But I don't know. There's just too much right now that can help us as youth to succeed in general. For us to just sit back and totally give up, unless a situation is super extreme. And even in that, I still think there is something that you can do about it. The moment we convince and you surrender to your suffering, you're done. Yeah. You're done. So let's check Oso's daily routine, because you go around and get coaching and people will tell you that sometimes what determines your progress or success is things that you do, daily routines maybe. And how is your normal daily routine? Until recently, it didn't exist. I'm not going to sit here and lie. Okay. Until recently, it did not exist. But I've gotten into certain things. I'm trying to, waking up early is one thing. Okay. Waking up and not the first thing that you look at shouldn't be a phone. Such things. We hear people say such things and we think, imagine, But when you see the difference when you do them, we hear people talk about exercise, and exercising in the morning doesn't necessarily mean having to go in a gym. Okay. I don't do gym. I get out of social anxiety gym. 5 kg in my armfuls. No, get up. Okay. But no, wake up in the morning. Don't look at your phone. The first thing that you do, go outside, I take walks now, especially with my mom and my sister, as something that I'm trying to incorporate into my daily routine. And in these things, I am seeing the difference that it makes.
Okay.
You know, there was a time where I would wake up and I would still feel tired.
Oh.
I would still feel like, it takes so much energy for me to even get myself to do things. But once I incorporated these little things into my routine, those things become easier. And I started understanding that the problem was my mind is not active. And my mind is so used to being inactive that it takes long for it to start and get active. And it takes a lot more energy to even keep it running. So doing these small things in the morning help you throughout the, that's one thing that my mom always said, for like, do all that you need to do. And then you can sit down after that. And if you do that, you wake up, you either clean or you walk or you get active in the morning and you sit down, you're not even going to want to sit down anymore. You're going to want to be more productive. You know, so that's where I'm seeing and I'm understanding the importance of having not only a daily routine, but a morning routine as well. Something to get your body kick-started so that throughout the day, I'm sort of sharp. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm still getting there. I haven't perfected it yet, but yeah, man, we live and we learn.
So as you wrap up, what would you say to, I want to go back to this issue of young people who have given up and went to drugs. Here is the person, how do you get yourself out of that thing? But it's like a mental illness. I believe you've had people in your circle who went through that.
Mental
I don't know
health,
how did you give them support, but one person like manalang frustration, maybe motho ko ntlong ha kry a re tshwana kere bona le yana ya tswang family yana feeling gore I'm not appreciated no matter what I do. What would you say to them in closing?
I think in such cases we understand that you need to be your biggest support system, your own biggest support system. You have to want things like good things for yourself. And then we will come to the issue of, like I said earlier, find something it will inspire. And sometimes open your mind and your heart to the fact that sometimes the things that will inspire you and the things that will get you to the place that you want to be are not the things that you thought you would be passionate about. You know, like let's say how much to social media, like social media but you prop up a camera and start recording, that's the thing that makes you money. You're not a person with, like, let's say how you think you're not analytical. You read a book or you get into a conversation with someone about any sort of conversation that would be analytical, and you start meeting people through the one conversation that you had with a person. Or like, okay, you go talk to that person. I think it would be good if you spoke to that person. You speak to that person now you are, in business with that person, or you are the face of whatever sort of brand that person has. Understand? So I don't know. There's my point is there's a lot of options for us to sit and rest on our laurels, and we need to understand. Even if you don't have the support, it makes it that much more difficult for you, and it's unfortunate. But life is not going to spin in a way. That's the sad part. We all want things to come to us easily, but they just don't. Some situations are extreme. And if you don't have your own best interests at heart, you can't expect other people to have your best interests at heart. You can't expect your surroundings to have your best interests at heart if you don't do that. So, cliche, it starts with you, And yeah, I think that's when it comes to the whole alcohol and drugs thing, people do that as a social activity. They do that to be presentable to other people. They do it to have friends, to be seen as cool. And now you are wrapped around this thing that you cannot escape. And you are, imagine now you get out of there. You're not going to have the same friends anymore. It's going to start feeling lonely. And that's where you start relapsing, So I think we need to develop a thing of, I have to have my own back first. And in doing that, it'll also encourage you to sort of pursue rather meaningful connections. Like if you have your best interest at heart and obobona lifestyle to say, nah, I'm not going to benefit from what this guy is doing. Yes. You won't even try to make friends with that person. Or you have friends who start sort of branching out to things that how resonate on. If you have your own best interest at heart, you are going to say, okay, that person can't be my friend anymore because they're moving in a direction that I don't agree with. And if I follow this person, how am I going to feel anything? Or that person can still be my friend, but I can't look in their direction when I want to, like, let's say if I want to have a conversation about business, if I want to have a conversation about Sgela, if I want to have a conversation about things that are productive to me in my future, I can't look to that guy. I can go to him for a nice time, you know, we can have a nice time, but he's not the type of person who would influence me and inspire me to sort of build my life in the direction that I want to do. Okay. So you see how all these things can start from having a good relationship with yourself yes. and having your own best interest at heart and understanding yourself, your own passions, the things that you are good at, you know, and yeah, all of that stuff.
Osolofetswe, I'm the presenter. Thank you very much for coming in. That was Osolofetswe Melesi. We are commemorating Youth Day. We are commemorating Youth Month. A very inspirational young person, and I'm wishing him everything of the best. Till we meet again next time in Conversation with Thabang, Free State Online Network and YouTube. Good evening.